I wasn't supposed to see the message. It popped up on my best friend's phone while she was in the shower. Just one line. That was all it took. He doesn't suspect anything. Your family is the perfect cover. At first, I laughed nervously, thinking it had to be some kind of joke. But then my name appeared in the next message. My chest tightened. My hands started shaking. Because whoever she was texting wasn't just part of her secret. They were connected to my family. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. I hadn't just caught my best friend cheating. I had just uncovered something that could destroy everyone I love. White heavy check mark CTA. Before we go further, tell us where you're watching from and what would you do if you discovered your best friend's secret was tied to your own family. Subscribe to the Choice Stories, because in this story, your decision might say more about you than you think. The message wouldn't leave my mind. Even after I carefully locked her phone and placed it back exactly where it had been, my fingers still trembled like I had just touched something I wasn't supposed to. Something dangerous. It had only been one message. One single line. But it felt like it had cracked something open that I could never close again. He doesn't suspect anything. Your family is the perfect cover. At first, I told myself it had to be a misunderstanding. Maybe I read it wrong. Maybe it was part of some joke I didn't understand. But then, my name had appeared in the next message. Clear. Unmistakable. That's when the uneasiness started to spread through my chest, slow and heavy, like something sinking deeper the more I tried to ignore it. Lila had never hidden things from me before. Or at least, I thought she hadn't. We had been best friends for over 10 years. 10 years of late-night conversations, shared secrets, laughter that turned into tears, and promises that we would always be honest with each other, no matter what. She had been there when my life felt like it was collapsing. When my father got sick and the hospital bills started piling up, she was the one who stayed with me through sleepless nights. She knew my family. She was practically part of it. That's why that message didn't just feel wrong. It felt personal. The sound of the bathroom door unlocking made my heart jump violently in my chest. I quickly stepped away from the couch, forcing myself to breathe normally, to act like nothing had happened. Lila walked out moments later, a towel wrapped loosely around her hair, her expression calm, almost too calm. "You look weird," she said lightly, raising an eyebrow. "You okay?" For a second, I thought about telling her everything right there. Confronting her. Asking her what that message meant. But something stopped me. Something instinctive. I forced a small smile. "Yeah, just tired. Long day." She studied me for a moment longer than usual, like she was trying to read something behind my eyes. Then she shrugged it off and reached for her phone. And that's when I noticed it. The way she picked it up quickly. The way she turned the screen slightly away from me. The way her fingers moved faster than usual, like she was making sure something was hidden. A subtle action. Something I would have ignored any other day. But not now. Now, everything felt suspicious. The rest of the evening dragged on in a strange, uncomfortable rhythm. We talked, we laughed, we even watched a movie, but nothing felt real anymore. Every word she said felt rehearsed. Every smile felt calculated. And I couldn't stop watching her. Every time her phone buzzed, her attention shifted instantly. Every time I mentioned my family, even casually, there was a slight pause before she responded. Small, almost invisible reactions. But now that I had seen that message, I couldn't unsee them. Your family is the perfect cover. That line echoed louder the more I thought about it. What did that even mean? A cover for what? And why my family? Later that night, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Lila had fallen asleep on the couch, her phone still in her hand. The soft glow from the screen illuminated her face, making her look peaceful, innocent even. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was looking at someone I didn't truly know anymore. I sat in the dark, my thoughts spiraling deeper with every passing second. Part of me wanted to grab the phone again. To unlock it. To search for answers until everything made sense. But another part of me was afraid. Afraid of what I might find. Afraid that whatever truth was hidden behind that message wouldn't just hurt me. It would destroy everything. My friendship. My trust. My family. And the worst part. A quiet, terrifying thought crept into my mind, one I tried desperately to push away. What if this wasn't something new? What if this had been happening for a long time? Right in front of me. And I had been too blind to see it. I looked at her again, sleeping so peacefully, as if nothing in the world was wrong. But I knew something now. Something I couldn't ignore anymore. Lila was hiding something. Something big. Something dangerous. And somehow, my family was already a part of it. White heavy check mark CTA. Before we go further, what would you do if the person you trusted most was hiding something that could destroy your entire family? Subscribe to the Choice Stories, because here, every decision has a price. Sleep never really came that night. Even when I closed my eyes, my mind refused to rest. The message kept replaying, louder each time, like it was trying to force me to see something I wasn't ready to face. By morning, I felt drained, not just from lack of sleep, but from the weight of uncertainty pressing down on me. Lila acted normal. That was the worst part. She moved around the kitchen like she always did, humming softly as she made coffee, scrolling through her phone with an ease that almost felt practiced. If I hadn't seen that message myself, I would have believed nothing was wrong. "You barely slept," she said, glancing at me. I shrugged, forcing a yawn. "Just thinking about work." She nodded, but her eyes lingered on me for a second too long. Like she was checking if I was lying. That small moment made my stomach tighten. Was she suspicious of me? The same way I was now suspicious of her. The thought unsettled me more than I expected. Later that day, I decided I needed air, or maybe distance. I told Lila I had errands to run and left the house, but instead of going anywhere specific, I found myself driving aimlessly, trying to clear my head. But no matter how far I went, the same questions followed me. What is she hiding? Why is my family involved? And then a new thought crept in, one that made my grip tighten on the steering wheel. Who was she texting? That question changed everything. Because whoever it was, wasn't just part of her secret. They were part of something bigger. Something that included me. When I got back home later that evening, something immediately felt off. Lila wasn't in the living room. The house was quiet, but not in a normal way. It felt tense. Then I heard it. Her voice. Soft. Urgent. Coming from the other room. I froze. I wasn't trying to listen. At least, that's what I told myself. But my feet moved anyway, slow and careful, until I was close enough to hear fragments of her conversation. "No, not yet." A pause. I said I'll handle it. Just give me time. Another pause. My heart started pounding harder. Handle what? Time for what? Then came the line that made my entire body go cold. If they find out now, it ruins everything. They. Not she. Not him. They. That meant more than one person. That meant this wasn't just about her anymore. I stepped back quickly before she could notice me, my pulse racing. My thoughts were spiraling faster now, connecting pieces that didn't fully make sense yet, but felt dangerously close to something real. When she came back into the living room minutes later, her expression was calm again. Too calm. "You're back," she said casually. "Yeah," I replied, trying to match her tone. But now, I was watching her differently. Not as my best friend, but as someone hiding something. Something big enough to lie about. Something big enough to whisper about behind closed doors. That night, everything felt heavier. Every silence stretched longer. Every glance felt sharper. And then, just when I thought the day couldn't get any worse, my phone buzzed. I picked it up absent-mindedly, but the moment I saw the sender, my heart skipped. It was my younger brother. That wasn't unusual. What was unusual was the message. "Hey, has Lila been acting strange around you?" My breath caught. For a second, I just stared at the screen, unable to process what I was reading. Then another message came through. "I think I saw her yesterday, but she wasn't alone." The room suddenly felt smaller. Colder. Because in that moment, everything shifted again. This wasn't just a suspicion anymore. This wasn't just a strange message on a phone. Now, my family was noticing things too. And whatever Lila was hiding was no longer contained. It was spreading. White heavy check mark CTA. Be honest. If you were in my position right now, would you confront her immediately, or keep watching and risk finding something worse? Comment your choice below. Because what happens next depends on it. I didn't reply to my brother immediately. I couldn't. My fingers hovered over the screen, frozen, while my thoughts raced ahead of me, faster than I could control. It felt like everything was moving at once, the message I saw, the conversation I overheard, and now this, my brother seeing her with someone near a bank. It wasn't just a coincidence anymore. It couldn't be. I slowly lifted my head and looked across the room. Lila was there, sitting comfortably, scrolling through her phone like the world was perfectly normal. Like nothing had shifted. Like she wasn't slowly turning into someone I didn't recognize anymore. And that scared me more than anything. Because it meant she was good at this. Good at pretending. Good at hiding things. That realization settled heavily in my chest. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. If I was right, if this was something bigger than just lies, then asking questions too early could ruin everything. No. I needed to see it for myself. I needed proof. That night, I prepared carefully. I forced myself to act normal, even laughing at something she said, even engaging in small talk, but inside, I was counting every second, waiting for the moment she would slip again. When it was finally time to sleep, I made sure everything looked convincing. Lights off. Phone down. Slow breathing. Stillness. Minutes passed. Then more. The silence stretched so long I almost started to doubt myself. Until I heard it. Movement. Soft. Careful. Intentional. My heart began to pound instantly. Through barely opened eyes, I watched her sit up slowly, glancing in my direction to make sure I was asleep. Then she reached for her phone and quietly stepped out of the room. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to stay still. But I didn't. I counted to 10, then slowly got up, my feet barely making a sound against the floor. The hallway was dim, shadows clinging to the walls as I followed the faint glow of her phone. Her voice reached me before I saw her. Low. Urgent. Controlled. I told you, it's getting complicated, she whispered. A pause. No, they don't know everything yet. My chest tightened. They. Again. That word carried weight now. It wasn't random. It meant multiple people. It meant coordination. It meant this wasn't just her secret. I moved closer, careful, holding my breath as if even the air could betray me. You're the one who said this would work, she continued, her tone sharper now. Another pause. I'm doing my part. But if they find out too soon. She stopped. Then came the sentence that shattered everything. If her family finds out about the money, it's over. For all of us. For a moment, everything inside me went completely still. Like my body refused to process what I had just heard. Money. My family. For all of us. My hand instinctively covered my mouth as a wave of cold rushed through me. My thoughts immediately jumped to my father, his finances, the hospital bills, the stress he tried so hard to hide from us. The late-night calls, the paperwork, the constant worry about money. No, this couldn't be connected. But the more I tried to deny it, the more it made sense. Lila knew everything about my family. She knew about the finances. She knew about the pressure we were under. She knew exactly where we were vulnerable. And now, she was talking about money. Secretly. With someone else. I stepped back slowly, my pulse racing so hard it felt like it might give me away. My mind was no longer just suspicious, it was spiraling. Connecting pieces faster than I could keep up with. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just cheating. This was something planned. Something deliberate. Something that had been happening right under my nose. While I trusted her completely. I barely made it back to my room before she returned. I dropped onto the bed, shutting my eyes tightly, forcing my breathing to stay steady as she slipped back in like nothing had happened. But everything had happened. Everything had changed. The next morning, I couldn't ignore it anymore. Not the message. Not the call. Not the fear sitting heavy in my chest. I picked up my phone and finally replied to my brother. "What exactly did you see?" The response came almost instantly. "I saw her outside the bank yesterday. She was arguing with a guy. It looked serious." My grip tightened on the phone. Arguing. At a bank. Before I could process it fully, another message came in. "Wait. I just remembered something." A pause. Then. "That guy. I've seen him before. He used to come around when Dad was dealing with his finances." Everything inside me dropped. My father. His finances. Lila. The messages. The whispers. The word money. It all collided into one terrifying realization. This wasn't random. This wasn't coincidence. Lila wasn't just hiding something from me. She was involved in something connected to my family's money. Something serious. Something hidden. Something that could ruin everything if it came to light. I slowly lowered my phone, my hands colder than ever. Because now, for the first time, this wasn't just about trust anymore. It was about risk. And I could feel it deep in my chest. Whatever I chose to do next was going to change everything. White heavy check mark CTA. Now be honest. If you just discovered your best friend might be secretly involved with your family's money, would you confront her immediately? Or stay quiet and risk uncovering something even worse? Type your choice below and defend it. Because from this point on, there's no safe decision. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a second. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same thing. Lila's face, calm and familiar, layered over the words I had heard just hours ago. "If her family finds out about the money." It echoed endlessly, louder each time, until it didn't even sound like her voice anymore. It sounded like a warning. By morning, the weight of it all had settled into something heavier than fear. It was pressure. The kind that forces you to act, even when you don't know how. I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. My brother's messages were still there. Proof that this wasn't just in my head. Proof that something real was happening, something involving my family, my father, and someone Lila was secretly working with. I had two choices. Confront her, or stay silent. Both felt wrong. If I confronted her, she could lie. Worse, she could cover her tracks, warn whoever she was working with, and whatever they were planning would disappear before I understood it. But if I stayed silent, I'd be letting it continue. Letting whatever this was grow deeper, more dangerous, possibly beyond my control. My chest tightened at the thought. What if this was already bigger than I imagined? What if I was already too late? The sound of movement outside my door pulled me back to reality. Lila was awake. Moving around like everything was normal. Like we were still the same people we had been just days ago. That normalcy made something inside me snap. Because nothing was normal anymore. I walked out slowly, watching her from a distance. She stood in the kitchen, pouring coffee, her posture relaxed, her expression unreadable. For a moment, I almost doubted everything. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe this wasn't what I thought it was. But then she picked up her phone. And just like before, she angled it away from me. That small, deliberate movement erased every doubt. She was hiding something. I stepped closer. "Lila," I said. She looked up immediately, her expression softening into a smile. "Yeah." There it was again. That normal tone. That familiarity. It almost made me angry. I studied her face carefully, searching for something, guilt, hesitation, anything that would confirm what I already knew. But she gave me nothing. "I need to ask you something," I said slowly. For a split second, something flickered in her eyes. It was quick, almost invisible. But it was there. And that was all I needed to see. My heart started pounding again. This was it. This was the moment everything could break. But the words didn't come. Because suddenly, another thought hit me. If I confronted her now, and I was right, then I wasn't just exposing her. I was exposing myself. Letting her know I knew. Giving her time to fix whatever she was doing. To erase evidence. To disappear if she had to. And worst of all, to take whatever she was hiding with her. My stomach dropped. No. I couldn't risk that. Not when my family was involved. Not when my father's situation was already fragile. Not when I still didn't know how deep this went. I forced a breath, steadying myself. Actually, it's nothing, I said, stepping back slightly. Her eyes narrowed just a little, like she didn't fully believe me. But then she smiled again, brushing it off. Okay, you scared me for a second, she laughed lightly. Scared. The word hit differently now. Because she had no idea how close she was to being exposed. And I had no idea how dangerous this situation really was. Later that day, I made my decision. Not out of confidence, but out of fear. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to watch, wait, and find out everything. Even if it meant getting closer to something I didn't fully understand. Even if it meant risking more than I was ready for. Because at this point, this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about my family. And whatever Lila was involved in. I needed to know the truth. No matter what it cost me. White heavy check mark CTA. Now it's your turn. Would you have confronted her right there, risking everything? Or made the same choice I did? And stayed silent to uncover the full truth? Type your decision below, and explain why. Because sometimes, waiting for the truth can be more dangerous than facing it. Waiting was harder than I expected. Every day felt longer than the last. Every conversation with Lila felt like a test. One wrong move, one slip, and everything could fall apart. But I stayed patient. I watched. I listened. And slowly, the pieces started coming together. It began with small things. Lila leaving the house at odd hours. Taking calls in hushed tones. Guarding her phone like it held something more valuable than just messages. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was late afternoon when she told me she had to run an errand. Her tone was casual, but there was tension behind it, the kind I had learned to recognize. This was it. I followed her. At a distance. Careful. My heart pounded the entire time, my hands gripping the steering wheel as I watched her car turn into a familiar street. And then, she stopped. Right in front of a bank. The same bank my brother had mentioned. My chest tightened as I parked further down, watching closely. Minutes passed before another car pulled up. A man stepped out, mid-40s, serious expression, moving like someone who didn't want attention. The moment Lila saw him, her entire demeanor changed. No smile. No warmth. Just tension. They started arguing almost immediately. I couldn't hear everything, but I didn't need to. Their body language said enough. Then, I saw it. An envelope. Thick. He handed it to her. She hesitated, then took it. My stomach dropped. Money. It had to be. Everything inside me screamed that this was bigger than I had imagined. Bigger than betrayal. Bigger than lies. This was real. Dangerously real. I didn't think. I stepped out of the car and walked toward them. Fast. Before I could stop myself. Lila. My voice cut through the tension like a blade. Both of them froze. She turned around slowly, her face draining of color the moment she saw me. For the first time. She looked scared. What are you doing here? She stammered. I ignored the question, my eyes locked on the envelope in her hand. What is that? I demanded. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating silence. The man shifted uncomfortably, glancing between us. Answer me, I said, my voice sharper now. Lila swallowed hard, her grip tightening on the envelope. It's not what you think, she said quickly. That sentence. The one people always use when it's exactly what you think. My chest burned with anger. Then tell me what it is, I shot back. She hesitated. And in that hesitation, everything became clear. Is this about my family? I asked, my voice dropping. Her silence confirmed it. That was all I needed. Lila, my voice shook slightly now, what did you do? Her eyes filled with something I had never seen before. Guilt. Real, undeniable guilt. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. My heart sank. She looked down, then back at me. I was helping him move money, she admitted quietly, nodding toward the man. Your dad trusted him, and I thought it was harmless at first. Just small transfers. But then it got bigger. My ears rang. Every word hit harder than the last. You used my family, I said, disbelief and anger mixing in my voice. Tears filled her eyes now. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed. Fix it? There was no fixing this. This wasn't a mistake. This was betrayal. Calculated. Hidden. Repeated. And now, exposed. I took a step back, shaking my head slowly. You should have told me, I said, my voice breaking slightly. Out of everyone, you should have told me. She didn't respond. Because there was nothing left to say. The damage was already done. I turned and walked away, my chest heavy but my mind clear for the first time in days. Later that night, everything came crashing down. The truth came out. The authorities got involved. My father found out. And just like that, everything changed. Lila was gone. Not just from my life, but from everything we had built together. And as I sat there, in the quiet aftermath of it all, one thought stayed with me. Some betrayals don't come from enemies. They come from the people you trust the most. And sometimes, the hardest choice isn't exposing the truth. It's accepting that the truth will cost you everything. White heavy check mark final CTA. So tell me, if you were in my place, would you have exposed her, knowing it could destroy everything? Or would you have stayed silent and protected the person you once trusted most? Subscribe to the Choice Stories, because here, every decision reveals who you truly are. And every choice has a price.